go through the different type of clutch, what is the application of the clutch, working the working condition, and what is the selection of the clutch for a particular automobile. Okay, and what is the functioning of the clutch, and what is the different component which is make a automobile clutch. So, in what is the objective for today program? The today program is objective to enhance the knowledge about the automobile clutch, to identify the type of the type of automobile clutches, and to understand the application of automobile clutch. Okay, so after this, student, you are able to will get the knowledge about the selection and use of automobile clutches. Participant will get participant will get the knowledge about the working process and maintenance of the automobile clutch. Okay, so here you can see, as in this diagram, this is a CAD model of automobile clutch assembly. Okay, this is because in the automobile clutch there is a flywheel, clutch plate, suspension system is involved with the automobile clutches. So let's start today's session. That is the clutches. So what is the clutch? How we can define the clutches? A clutch is mechanical device that engage and disengage the power transmission, especially from a drive shaft to driven shaft. Okay. So what is the main function? What is the main application of the clutch is to engage and disengage the transmission of power from the driven shaft to drive shaft. Okay. So in any vehicle, like what happened in the initial position, clutch is already engaged to the driven system to drive system. Okay. So when we going to start the vehicle like a two-wheeler, then first we disengage the clutch from the driven system. And once your engine is start, then we slowly attach the or engage the clutch to the driver shaft. Okay. So now you can able to see here, there is a flywheel. These are the clutch disc and this is the pressure plate. So you can see why this diagram is here and why this animated is here, because these three components is very much important in the clutch assembly. Okay. So first, the main function, the main application of the clutch plate is that to power transmission between the drive shaft to driven shaft. They can engage the power transmission. They can engage both the shaft for the power transmission. Okay. So next, what is the purpose or uses to connect and disconnect the engine power flow, the transmission at the wheel of the driver. Okay. See. So it is totally depend on the when we want to engage the power driven shaft to driver shaft, it is totally depend on the driver. Okay. So on the willing of the driver. Okay. When driver want, 2 ways to disengage the transmission between power sorry driver shaft to driven shaft, it will disengage the transmission through this clutch plate. So here car layout is given here. So you can able to see this is the engine, this is the rear drive shaft. Okay, front differential is there, transmission. See, this is the transmission and this is the rear differential. So and here is rear transmission is there. So what happened? Where clutch is connected, clutch is connected, or we can say that clutch is the part of this transmission system. Clutch is the part of this transmission system. Okay, student, if you have any doubt in between the uh, lecture, then you can paste your question, ask your question through the chat box. Okay. So what is the clutch system? So you can see in the four wheeler, the clutch and brake is at the same position, at the same position on the below of the driver seat. Okay. So clutch system are used to disengage the engine from the road. When the clutch pedal is depressed, the clutch or the transmission is disengaged from the engine. Okay. Now, with your foot off the pedal, the clutch is engaged to the engine. Means when we press the pedal, the clutch plate is disengaged from the engine, and when we remove our foot from the pedal, then clutch plate engaged to the engine. The pressure plate hold the clutch against the flywheel, allowing the power to travel through the clutch plate to the input shaft of the transmission system. Okay, the engine power will be transferred through the clutch to the road. Okay, so engine power transfer through the clutch to the shaft or to the rod, connecting rod. Okay, now what is the important component of the clutch system? What is the important component of the clutch system? Like a flywheel. First is flywheel. Transfer engine power to the clutch. Okay. This is not only transfer. Actually, what happened? The flywheel not only transfer the power from the engine, but it is also control the fluctuation of the energy. Okay, or fluctuation of the power. Okay, when your transmission system needs less energy or less power, then this flywheel absorb the energy, and when the transmission system need more energy or more power, then this flywheel also release the energy for the smooth driving of the vehicle. Okay, then input soft. Just 1 minute. Okay, okay. So input soft. What is the use of this input soft? Transfer power from clutch to the transmission system. Transfer power from the clutch to the system. Okay, clutch disc. So this is the clutch. A spindle to the input shaft transfer power from engine to the input shaft. So the main things doing this clutch, but these assemblies also required. These assembly is also required for the input purpose. Okay, student, just 1 minute. So students, the next part is pressure plate assembly. Okay, and what is the role of pressure plate assembly? Some spring pressure is tightly hold the clutch to the flywheel. Release bearing, what is that? Throw off bearing. Connected throw linkage are hydraulic to the clutch pedal, provide a way for the pressure plate to release the pressure on the clutch. Okay, whatever the pressure apply, because when we want to disengage the clutch from the engine power, then we have to apply the pressure from our foot, and this pressure plate are release the pressure from the clutch. Okay, wallet bearing, what is that? That is the bushing mounted in the tail of the crankshaft, stabilize the input shaft, not allow use to forward. Okay, now clutch form, if applicable, it is optional. If applicable, then we can apply, mount this uh, clutch fork, or it is not needed, then we can skip this part. Okay, slide the release bearing into and away from the pressure plate assembly. Okay, now you can see the different component from the clutch plate assembly. This is the flywheel, this is the clutch disc, and pressure plate assembly is there, clutch linkage is there, clutch fork is there, clutch fork ball here, and this is the clutch housing. Okay, so this is the hub. All these component is assembled within this hub or housing. So now here you can see the assembly of the clutch plate with the animation. See, this is the top view of four spring is there. Okay, and how the pressure inside these two discs. So engaging and disengaging, you can see here. See, this time is engaged. Now disengage. Okay, so student, you can again see here component continuous clutch linkage. See here bell housing, and this is the transmission system. Clutch linkage are hydraulic tumbling. Allow the driver to operate the clutch form. Okay, enclose the clutch assembly. So this is the whatever the assembly, whatever the component is there for the clutching. So all the component is enclosed by this clutch bell house. Now, clutch component. So first is flywheel. Okay. So first is flywheel from the clutch component. Then we're going to uh, study some detail for the flywheel. Mounted on the rear of the crankshaft, act as a balancer for the engine. Okay, so it is multiple uses. It is transfer the power from the engine to the transmission system. It is also make a balancer of the engine, and it is also application. Its application is also there for the control the fluctuation of the power. Okay, add inertia to the rotating crankshaft, provide a surface for the clutches to connect. Okay, usually surrounding by a ring gear for the electric starter operation. See, like this. This is the flywheel and this is the gear. Okay, for the electric starter. Okay, so here you can see animation of the 8 piston cylinder assembly, means the 8 cylinder assembly is there, and here the color is shown now. This is your clutch plate assembly, and this is the connecting soft. Okay, here is the engine generate the power, and clutch plate assembly is there. So through this assembly we can engage or disengage the engine power to the transmission system. Okay, so the pink color which is visible at the last, that is your clutch plate assembly, and this is your engine, where the engine and piston cylinder and piston assembly is there. Now what is the construction of the flywheel? Usually constructed of molded cast iron which have a high graphite content. The graphite help lubricating. Okay, so we can say that uh, the high percentage of graphite in this material, in this flywheel, it's self lubricating. So there is no need to, we can provide the lubrication for the flywheel. Okay, may also construct from the cold roll steel. Okay, the other material for the flywheel is the cold roll steel. We also use this material for the manufacturing of the flywheel. Now, there is one type of another type of flywheel, that is the dual mass flywheel. Okay, the flywheel hub and clutch mating area are two separate components. Okay, see, this is the flywheel and this is the mating part. In between, there is a spring is there. Okay, front plate is there, spring is there, and this is the rear plate. Okay, now spring are used to dampen engine and the clutch engagement oscillation. Now, see here, oscillation produced by the engine, or we can say that this is the fluctuation, how much your engine is provide the oscillation. See, the peak point and in plus direction, and peak point is the minus direction. So this is the fluctuation which for the laptop is disconnected. Okay. So students, you can see here the acceleration generated from the engine is very high, but due to the use of the flywheel, the fluctuation is much more minimized and it is near to the neutral line. See, the red curve show the fluctuation of the energy which is passed through the flywheel, and the black color curve show the actual fluctuation which is generated from the engine. Okay, students, if you have any question, then you send your question in the chat box. Okay, so flywheel measurements. So, what is the term we can measure from the flywheel? Okay, so there is three terms we have to measure when we're going to install a flywheel or assemble a flywheel in the clutches system. So, what is that? That is run out measured by the dial indicator. Okay, run out. What is the run out? Which is measured by the dial indicator. Run out is nothing but what is the its actual distance from the center of rotation. Okay, Pylonism, straight edge and fetter gauge, thickness, micrometer or dial indicator. So these are the measurement which we going to measure by the device mentioned here. Okay, so this diagram is related to the run out. Okay, so here you can see what happened. A dial indicator attached to the surface of the flywheel. Okay, so if there is any variation, so if there is any variation in the surface or any regularities in the surface, or your flywheel is not properly tight to the assembly, then what happened? The this dial indicator show the difference. We just attach the dial indicator to the surface of the clutch plate and flywheel and rotate the flywheel. If there is no variation in the dial indicator, then there is zero runoff in the flywheel. Okay. So next is Pylonism. Okay, how we can measure? So here you can see in this we can check our flywheel is properly engaged or not. For this, we can choose a flat ruler and we can attach this ruler to the surface of the flywheel and check the parallelness of the flywheel from the clutch plate or surface plate and flywheel thickness. So for that we can choose the vernier calipers or micrometer to check the thickness of the flywheel. Okay, so the same procedure is um, apply for the we're going to measure the thickness from the vernier calipers or micrometer to any quantity, any thickness or any length which is measured through the vernier calipers or the micrometer. Okay. So what is the next? Next is the clutch components. Okay. So here you can see driven disc located at here on the spindle. This is the pilot or bushing supported here. Clutch soft. Okay. For that projection from the front of the transmission system usually has a pilot which rides in a bearing or bushing in the end of the crankshaft. The clutch disc is spandrel to the clutch shaft. See here, see the clutch disc spandrel to the clutch shaft. So all the clutch assembly in this here you can easily observe that. Now clutch components, clutch disc. Okay. So here student you can see these two diagram. This is the animated diagram is here, which is show the engagement and disengagement from the front as well as from the side. The engagement and disengagement of the clutch plate to the engine from the front and from the side. Okay. Is screws between the flywheel and the pressure plate. Transmit power from the engine crankshaft to the transmission input shaft. Okay. So students, there is any question? Okay. So see here again the same diagram is here, but this is your clutch plate because we define the clutch plate here. So one, two, three, four spring is there, and these are the some holes on the perimeter of the clutch disc by which we can assemble this clutch plate to the assembly. See here, same one, two, three, four spring is there, and this is your clutch plate, upper clutch plate and lower clutch plate. So what happens? See, when it release the pressure, spring is there. When it's release the pressure, then what happened? The upper and lower plate is connect to the driven and driver shaft, and when we apply the force on the spring, then what happened? It is synchronized, so it is pushed away and disengaged from the transmission system. Disengage the transmission system from the engine to the drivers. Okay. Now, what is the clutch disc construction? See here, you can. This is the physical actual model of the clutch disc. Okay, so one, two, three, four, and here one, two, three, four, five, six spring is there. Okay, and this there is a engagement and disengagement. What happened? Here you can see the material optimization is there. Okay, we here what happened? One, two, three, four, five, six segment is there, and the segment can reduce the weight of the clutch disc. because here is no material is there, no material is there, no material is there. With compared to this, what happened? The overall we use here the complete disk, but here you can able to see not using the complete disk. Okay, just use the some small segment and we can use here, and this is the different one, overall 360-degree clutch plate is there. So there is a type of the surface, which surface we can use. Paper base, see these are the paper base, ceramic, cotton and brass. Paper base, ceramic, cotton and brass. So these are the four base by which we can create the surface of the disc brake. Sorry, surface of the clutch plate. Okay, so clutch disc type, rigid. See, primarily for industrial racing application. Okay, primarily the rigid is used for the industry or racing car purpose. Okay, flexible, most common, everything from the grandmas